Welcome to the Braveyard. Before we dive into the Season 1 finale, I'd like to give a big shout out to the amazing sponsor of today's episode, Gamertech. If you're in the market for a new PC, look no further. Gamertech is the #1 custom PC shop in Canada. Gamertech is proudly LGBTQ inclusive, ensuring a welcoming and supportive environment for everyone. All their systems come with a comprehensive 3-year warranty that covers any labor costs for upgrades, cleaning, repairs, and diagnostics. Plus, you can get personalized one-on-one tech support and 24/7 assistance via Discord. Their staff, I can personally attest, is absolutely top-notch. Building your own dream computer has never been easier. Their website, gamertech.ca, is super user-friendly, allowing you to design your perfect PC in just minutes. And don't miss out on their amazing pre-built PC giveaways by following them on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok with their handle @GamerTechToronto. A big thank you to Gamertech for sponsoring today's episode. Now, I am thrilled to introduce our special guest for today's episode. She's a shining star in the world of reality TV, a fashion icon, and a social media sensation. You may know her from one of the plentiful shows she's been on, like Perfect Match, The Circle, Too Hot to Handle, Celebrity X on the Beach, The Big Celebrity Detox, and more, where she captured the hearts with her vibrant personality and unfiltered honesty. Beyond the screen, she's an inspiration to many, advocating for mental health and self-love. Please help me welcome the incredible Courtnei Veitch. Hi, Chloe.
Hello, my gorgeous. How are you?
Oh my God, Chloe called me gorgeous. I could die now. How are you?
Stop it. I'm the one that's blushing. I don't know what's going on.
I'm blushing. I just have a lot of makeup on. It's fine. It's hidden. How has your day been so far?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. Typical UK weather. It's really dark before 4 p.m. So I'm just like slugging around.
You guys had a lot of snow recently, right? Didn't you just have like a big snowstorm?
No, in certain parts of the UK, yes. But where I live, it's near the coast. So it just gets really wet and really windy.
I was just in the UK this last summer visiting my friends. And my partner was like, okay, Court, it's cold and it's windy and it's not great weather. So make sure you pack warm. And so I did, and we get there, and it was the first day of a heat blast that you guys had. Yeah, and it was so hot the whole time we were there. So we went from we landed in London, went up to Lake Windermere, and stayed in like the Lake District for 2 weeks with our 2 friends. And then we went all the way back down to London, then to Gosport. And Gosport was the hottest, muggiest place I have ever been in my life.
Yeah, I'm not very good with geography, so I don't know where Gosport is, but
it's like as south as you can go, I think. It's like your naval town.
It's quite shocking that the only time that you come to visit thinking it's cold, it's really hot, because it's never hot here, ever. It must just be global boiling.
It was absolutely insane. We were trying to like go shopping. It felt like Mexico, but you had no relief from like ocean breeze. There was no pools to jump into. Nobody has air conditioning in the UK. That's not a thing.
No, because we're so used to it being freezing. I think I was in America when you were in London last year, because it was freezing in America during some of the summer. And I was like calling my mum, and my mum's like, Chloe, we're having a heat wave. And she's sunbathing on the trampoline or getting in the jacuzzi with her bikini on. And I'm like, I'm so jealous. I've literally flown to America and it's freezing.
Global warming, 100%. So I did just want to start, because I actually, just before we jumped onto this podcast, I saw a post that you made that was really, really touching to me and my partner, because it's really relevant to our experience right now. And you just very openly shared about your ADHD experience. And I just showed it to my partner because it's something that he has been struggling a bit with, especially just over the last couple days. He's diagnosed ADHD. I'm undiagnosed, but like, or I could probably go to the doctor and they would just tell me.
Yeah.
I'm just.
I mean, when you know you know.
Mm-hmm.
I knew for years, way before my diagnosis. And because of so much online stuff, like on TikTok, and it's almost like how to diagnose yourself with ADHD in 30 seconds. And it's like there's so much publicity around it that kind of almost desensitizes the whole idea of ADHD. It's like, well, it's so much more than just, oh, I'm just late to work all the time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But when you feel it, like you must have conversations with your partner and say, is this normal? Do you think the way I think? Like, and you must see like resemblances.
Totally. I think because we also, one of our good friends is, and my little sister, she is diagnosed ADHD as well. So when we all get together, I guess there's like a thing about ADHD people, we gravitate to each other and everything, it's just easier to communicate. Everything makes sense. And you don't put pressure on each other because you know how that affects each other. Like we've just received that to-do list that you shared, like simple things that can add up to feeling extreme overwhelm. My partner just struggled the last couple of days. And so the post that you made was really touching to him. He wanted me to just share with you how much that meant that you shared that, because he's going through it. And it's challenging, but I think being able to find community and then have people post and share about their experience and say like, it's okay to have those just like anxious moments of shutdown and like, I can't take anything else on. I need to like go and just focus very much on me and my mental health for a minute. And I'll come back to this in a second.
Yeah. I mean, even for me, someone posted on that post that I made today when I said about me feeling overwhelmed. What happens is I go into a natural state of paralysis where I can't do anything physically, mentally, emotionally. I just freeze. And it's almost like my head is filled with 1,000 things. Like you need to sort your parking fines out. You need to work on social media. You need to create content. Why are you so lazy? Oh my, you're going to drop. You're not going to earn any money. Your career is going to go downhill. And it's like, whoa, it's 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
All I need to do is get out of bed, make my bed, and I will start that cycle of positive, productive things. Make a cup of coffee, call my mum. I think it's really hard because when I talk openly about my ADHD diagnosis, I get a lot of people say, yeah, but we also, people that aren't diagnosed with ADHD, that haven't necessarily got ADHD, they can also feel overwhelmed. And I related to this man who commented on the post saying, yeah, but that's just normal. Like normal people experience overwhelm as well. But when you put it into perspective and you look at it in a different eye or a bigger picture, it's like I'm getting overwhelmed 4 or 5 times a month on a bad period. The slightest thing can trigger me. I've lost my car keys. Where are they? They're in my car. My car's like the first car I ever bought, quite an expensive car, my baby, my pride and joy. Now, it's a keyless car. I mean, not a keyless car. It's a wireless. It's keyless. It's like a button.
Yeah.
You just press it. And for me to be looking for my key for an hour and then find it in my car, then riddles me with shame and guilt because I'm like, my car could have been stolen because I'm stupid. And then it kind of goes into that self-doubt. What's wrong with me? Why am I feeling like this? Why can't I just remember to take my key out of the car? And that can trigger me for a couple of days. And I'm like, oh, I'm worthless. And I can go on a downward spiral. And it's almost like when I speak to my mum who hasn't got ADHD, because I've got 4 brothers and they've all got ADHD. When we have conversations around my mum's like, I just don't understand it. And I'm like, I could have a meltdown at any time of the day. You just need to just say or do, or I can say or do the wrong thing and just have an absolute anxiety panic attack meltdown over it. You know?
100%.
So
and then it takes you out. Like that's, I think the thing for me, once we get overwhelmed, your whole nervous system goes into shutdown. Like it's not an option. I call it my cocoon. Once it happens, and I'm like, I need to cocoon. I need to sit down, have like non-sensory stuff around me and just take a minute because my nervous system just shuts down.
definitely.
It's hard though. Thank you for sharing that because it's so vulnerable. And I'm sorry that you go through that. And I'm sorry that negative self-talk is something that clearly you struggle with as along with us. Because I think speaking about my partner, I think the negative self-talk is one of the hardest for him to try to adjust from. I think
Hmm.
for me, I, as much as I have the negative self-talk, it's, I almost go into more silence. Like I don't even have a thought. Like my
Hmm.
brain just goes into cocoon and then shuts down and is like, hey, you need to just sit, isolate, be calm for a minute. And then I just go into like list making and I make 1,000 lists that I have to remake
Yeah.
10,000 other times. But
Because
he
then you
has a
forget you've
really
made the list. And then you're like,
totally
where did I put the list? Oh, what? And then I go to write a list and I'm like, what was I going to put on this list again? And then I just get distracted again.
100%. I know. Oh my God. And that's the thing with me and my phone that I've realized is everything for me with work because we own and run 4 businesses, which is a lot for 2
Wow.
people with ADHD. So I can't
Congratulations. That's the upside, though. That's the upside of ADHD.
thanks.
Like, there's so many negatives of ADHD, but at the same time, it's like you have the ability to think creatively and to do the creative things that your mind tells you to do if you're passionate about them. That's why I always empathize. You need to be passionate about something and run with it. Congratulations
Totally.
on your.
Thank you. He's my partner is a musician, and when you watch him in music in his element, it's so inspiring and I love it. But he struggles with the negative self-talk and it's hard because I love him so much and I just want him to see himself in like his absolute beautiful glory that he deserves. But we get into shame of like why even with lists, if I open my phone and I go to make a list and I realize there's a list that I've already made that I haven't
Mhm.
done or I find things that I've forgotten, it's immediately that like you're stupid. Like how could you forget this?
Mhm.
This is important, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
So all my stuff has to be off my phone now. Because if I open up
Yeah.
something with my phone, I get distracted or a message will come through an
Yeah.
email and then I forget about
One
it and then
thing
I
that
shame myself.
one thing that really, really helps me for anyone that struggles with making lists on their phone, if you write down in your note set of 3 or 4 tasks you need to get done, like prioritize them, screenshot them, crop and edit it, and then put it as your home screen. So every time I look at my phone, I am subconsciously reminded, oh, I need to put petrol in my car. Because the amount of times I've run out of petrol because I forget it's on empty when I'm driving. And it's almost like, how do you forget to put petrol in your car when it's empty? And it's like, because I'm so used to seeing the gauge and it empty, I just forget. And then I'm
Mhm.
like, why is my car now broken down? And so it's almost like constantly having it on your phone screen really, really helps for anyone listening.
Such a good tip. I didn't even think about that. That's not, I feel like that might actually be great for both of us. I'm going to go Hellcast right after this. I just wanted to get into a little bit where I was just kind of curious what your thoughts were because my partner's family is all from the UK and we were just there. And he has a beautiful second cousin, but she's kind of like a niece. She's so wonderful. And there's
Mhm.
academic tests that happen in the UK that lump you into like kind of a category. It feels like they're telling you whether or not they think you're
Mhm.
smart or like you have
Yeah.
a chance at certain careers.
Yeah.
What is your opinion of that, especially for young women that are taking tests
Mhm.
and now almost being told like they're not good enough?
Yeah. I mean, I struggled massively at school. I've got dyslexia. I got diagnosed with that when I was in my early teens, when I first got to high school. And I was diagnosed with ADHD only a year or so ago. So this was all very new to me and to my teachers. They just thought she's not concentrating, she's intellectual, but she's not focusing or she doesn't want to be here. So it was almost like schools don't have the teacher versus students ratio correct. And I don't think that's their fault. I just think naturally you've got more students than you have teachers. And with diagnosis in terms of students need an extra help, there just isn't, there's no resources. For me, I went to see the school doctor, and I remember my mum writing down diaries and lists of things that I would do at home and constant behavioural patterns. And whenever I would get too overstimulated at school, I would go home and shut myself away, and I wouldn't want to go into school the next morning. And all of these were clear signs of being overwhelmed, overstimulated, going into all of these ADHD bouts. But my mum was like, I'm just going to keep you energized in terms of after school clubs and try and help you that way. And every time we had a conversation with the school would just say, there's nothing wrong with Chloe. All she needs to do is this, this, and this. And I remember taking a test and I was stuck on this one question. And I remember after saying to my mum, I need extra time. And that's something that they do offer in schools in the UK. If you are diagnosed, they give you extra time on your tests, or they put you in a separate room, isolated from everyone else, so you don't get distracted. And with my dyslexia, they give me a see-through green A4 sheet of paper or plastic to put over my words so I could read them properly. Now, that was what they helped me with. But in mainstream high school, they didn't have the capacity to deal with me or any other students that I knew that were struggling. So they would categorize them in A, B, and C. So if you were a little bit difficult or needed extra help, they would go, you're category C. Category B would be, you're kind of mellow, you kind of get it, but you're not a star student. And then category A where they would put everyone that was smashing their grades. And I actually got moved out of that school for being bullied, and I was put into an isolated school around the corner in a different building where there was only 20 pupils in the whole school. And I actually ended up getting the actual help that I needed. That really helped not just my education, but my outlook and aspect on life, because I thought, these teachers aren't just shouting at me, they stand in me and I feel heard and seen. And I think the problem today is students are just looked at as grades now, and they're put in boxes. That doesn't necessarily just affect the education, it affects everything, like trust in adults, in wanting to be seen or heard, which can then have a knock-on effect on trust issues. And if you feel down or you feel like you're stuck in your head, who are you going to talk to? You're not going to talk to the teachers, because they're just going to put you in an isolation because they don't know what to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's very difficult in the UK.
I mean, I was heavily bullied when I was younger. And I think that's something that so many people can relate to, but a lot of queer people or anyone who's just seen as different in any way have really struggled with. I also moved schools and then ended up changing schools a few times. And in a similar position, I think there was maybe like 80 kids at our school. The final one I kind of ended up at, which was an alternative school. And I feel like it's really challenging when there aren't any resources there to help kids that have all of the potential, but they just don't learn in that mainstream, quick information, one teacher at a whiteboard way. And then they're cast aside. It's similar here. Like, we still have so many problems with our education system here as well. I think in the UK, it's a little bit more violent in the way that when you're not passing these tests and you're not categorized as what they see as successful, you get lumped into these categories. Here, it's like, it's similar, you're shunned, but you're not having to do like these nationwide tests that kind of tell you what sort of a future you can have. I just feel like it's really hard to have self-confidence when you're struggling and you're being told that you're not doing good enough or there's something wrong with you when there's not. It's just, we don't all learn the same. And a lot of the times the people that you hear now speaking that are the most successful, that are the most creative, that are out of the box thinkers, they struggled in school. They were told that they weren't going to do anything. They weren't good enough. And here they are now with these absolutely incredible careers and smashing it. They just needed to learn in a different sense than what mainstream education is telling us. And I hope that we're learning from that.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I got A stars in performing arts, drama, singing, acting, all of that. And I think if it wasn't for me finding an outlet to my energy and to stop those self-limiting beliefs from thinking that I was really stupid because I didn't understand maths and English, it was almost like that's what kind of saved me in a sense. And I can't even imagine, even my cousins now are struggling because my younger cousin loves to talk and he's like, well, I want to ask so many questions and I'm so curious and I'm so passionate about what I'm passionate about at this age. And the teachers are just like, you're talking too much, detention, you're talking too much, leave the class. And it's like, instead of negative reinforcement to stop people's limiting beliefs, why don't you actually create an after school club to say, right, this is talk club. If you want to ask questions, if you want to write things down, like anything that is viewed at by the teachers as someone's talking too much, it's never, that's going to be a really smart child because they're really passionate about understanding how the logistics of things work. It's almost shunned upon. Like, why are you talking so much? You need to shut up and you need to listen. And it's like, these teachers half the time don't like their job. They're just doing it for the wage.
Yeah.
And it comes across. Some teachers are amazing. I mean, one of my teachers, when my dad went to rehab when I was younger, and my brother passed away 3 months after. So it was like there was a lot going on at home and it showed in my schooling. And when I went to this isolated school, I remember clicking with one of the teachers called Mr. Clark. And he was amazing. He was like my stepdad, but a teacher. And he would talk to me. He would ask me how he could help. He would put the right scheduling in for me. He would allow me to come to school 20 minutes late because he knew that I'd get stressed doing my hair and makeup in the morning, or not necessarily makeup, but because I had ADHD and it was so overstimulating, I was never on time. And instead of going, if you're late, you're getting detention, it was, we're going to allow you to be 20 minutes late just so it doesn't stress you out. For then when you do get to school, you're not going to be disrupted. Mm-hmm. It's almost like you have to work with them. But how do you do that when there's hundreds of children? I mean, I get it. The system's just broken.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. And I feel like a lot of people have those one teachers. And I was blessed. I had a couple, but I had a few really awful ones. Like I had teachers that were almost like worse at bullying me than some of the kids because I was learning differently, because I was challenged, because I didn't fit into this category of a mainstream child that was learning on pace. Like everything I learned was so different. And then school it was really traumatic for me. And it was so unsafe that by the end of it, I didn't understand. Like I didn't want to be there. It didn't make sense to me and ended up dropping out. Now you go down the road, and I went back to college later on in life, but I have 4 businesses now. I have a career I'm proud of. I have a podcast I'm launching that I'm so excited about. All of these things I would love to just be able to look at some of those teachers and be like, like, fuck you.
Yeah,
I did
exactly.
it. I'm not
like,
I don't need your dunce cap. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah, exactly.
It is challenging. Do you think that bullying has like anything to do with negative self-talk that you struggle with now?
Yeah, I think it does. I think you kind of get to a certain age where you think, has my childhood had an effect on my adult life? And of course, everyone's childhood molds them to who they are in their adult life. It goes without saying. But I didn't realize how much of a knock-on effect it actually has. And I mean, even the job that I do now with Netflix, before I go into an interview or a meeting or a podcast, I have to look at myself in the mirror. It's so cringy and corny, but I have to look at myself in the mirror, dead in the eyes, and say, you are meant to be here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Because my head would always tell me, you're just a Clacton girl, someone that grew up in Clacton-on-Sea, a really small town, that worked as a waitress. And then all of a sudden overnight, I was on the 6th most watched show in the world in every country. I've got millions of followers, but I don't feel like that Netflix girl with millions of followers. I've just been on Netflix and I have millions of followers, but that isn't Chloe.
Mhm.
It's almost hard to kind of separate my life to my job, but then to also merge them in times that I need confidence. Because if I let my head rant at me and tell me that I'm not good enough, then it will start affecting my work, because then I'll
Totally.
start messing up on it. And I think sometimes it gives me strength when I look back and think, wow, you were really badly bullied. My jaw was broken. I had black eyes. I was jumped. I was constantly harassed by girls, groups of guys. People used to throw stones at my house. It was really, really bad. And I look back and think I have come so far, that everyone's had their own journey when it comes to school and bullying. And I think I don't victimize myself. I'm not a victim. It just happened to me. Doesn't mean that it's okay that it happened to me, but I've healed, I've dealt with it, and I'm still healing from it, because every day is a new day. Some days I'll be up, some days I'll be down.
Totally.
But every day, it's just reminding yourself.
I don't think that that's corny at all. And it's something that I do. I remember when we had a billboard for my cosmetic company, we got approached to do a billboard in New York in Times Square. And I remember that day being like, this doesn't, like, I'm not Courtnei. There's a picture of me on this massive lit up screen in like the busiest corner of the world, basically. And there's all these people staring and this like big unveil happening. And it was almost out of body. I was just like, I can't, this isn't me. Like, I don't know who this person is, but like, this isn't Courtnei. This is just, I guess, a part of, like you said, my job. And I'm just a part of this right now. But it is very out of body. And I think that triggered me into a lot of self-work, just into feeling worthy and trying to let go of that imposter syndrome of like, I was raised really, really broke. I came from, my father is been in and out of my life, deals with a lot of addiction. And that was really challenging. My mom was a single parent, had a lot that she was dealing with on her own as well. And it was a bit of a lonely upbringing, and being brought up quite poor. You look at a life now where I'm starting to see success and things are doing really well. And all of a sudden I was like, this isn't my life. Like, I don't deserve this. I don't know. I can't live like this. I don't know how to live like this version of me, because it's so far fetched to me that I wasn't struggling anymore. And all of a sudden there were these nice things to take in, and I couldn't accept them. I couldn't be present in the moment because it was too far fetched that good things were happening, you know?
But it's almost like, even though you put hard work in to get to where you were, because it was like given to you, it's almost like you've got that fear of it being taken away.
Totally.
It's like, I mean, how long is this going to last? Because this is so uncomfortable for me. This isn't what I'm used to. But then I love what you said at the beginning, when you said that it's kind of edged you into doing a lot of self-work and working around your imposter syndrome. And instead of repeating the same story that I know in my head is true about my childhood and my upbringing and everything that's happened in my life, I tell myself continuously, but what are you going to do about it now? It's happened. It's in the past. What are you going to do to move forward in a positive way? You're going to cry about it. Crying is very healthy, and I definitely heal from situations by feeling the emotion. But continuously kind of being in that victim mentality that I was so used to being in. I loved what you said about just pushing yourself to heal instead of just revisiting the past, because it completely changes your life and your outlook on everything, because you're so inspired by bad things that happen. It's like, okay, that was good that happened, because now I've learned my lesson. Now I won't revisit that road again. Or, okay, now I've learned the lesson from this business failure that I'm going to jump into this one. And this is a good positive step. And like reinforcing that is mindfulness, and it's good.
It's challenging. Anyway. I think when I fell in love with my partner, so my partner is also trans, and he was my best friend. We met when we were 14. We cheered each other on our whole lives, and then we ended up starting our businesses together, and then we recently fell in love. And there was a moment when I knew it was him, and we were just at that moment of like figuring out if that was something that we wanted to explore. And I remember having this moment of gratitude of like, okay, all of this shit that I've been through in my life, every bully, every abuse, every trauma has been worth it because it led us to be these perfect versions of ourselves for each other. And it was like the first moment where I was like, I'm not mad at my past. Cause I was, especially growing up, I was definitely guilty of going into my victimhood and feeling jealous of people that had healthy, normal upbringings or healthy, normal families, or their parents could afford to buy them clothes and the new things and send them to off to all the, cool school camps and whatever. And so that built into the victimhood of like, I never have enough. I'm not enough. And then I kind of went far fetched the other way to like, I'm not dealing with my trauma. I call it my backpack. I would put all of the hurtful memories and everything I was going through into a backpack and I would carry it, but I would never open it. And I think with Cass, when we started our companies and we moved in together, even before we started dating, I had a minute where I felt safe for the first time in my life. And I felt like somebody had me and my best friend was there. It was going to be okay. And so I could start kind of going through my backpack. But you have to, like you said, you have to feel the emotion and validate it before your mind and like your soul will accept that they can move past it. Because if you haven't felt it, you're just avoiding it. It's still there. Like it doesn't, I thought it's okay. I avoided it, goes away, but it's not. It's in a backpack and your backpack gets heavier and heavier and heavier and you're carrying more and more trauma. And then eventually it's too much. It's like hiking up a hill with rocks in it. And it's like, this would be a lot easier if I just took all of the rocks out, dealt with them properly, and then
one by one
carried on. Totally.
Yeah, definitely. Therapy really helped me as well. Therapy really helped, talking about it to different members of friends and family, and also being sober and going through the 12 steps of recovery. That really, really helped, because I didn't realize I was in a victim mentality when I was in it. It was almost like I was deluded. I was in denial. I thought I'd dealt with the emotions, but I hadn't. I'd drink the emotions away.
Same.
So it was like whenever something bad would happen, it would be like, I'm just going to go out and drink. And then I would do that. And then I would end up in this pitiful mess of just absolute knots of chaos. And then I'd feel like I'm going to come unstuck. This is, how have I kind of slept on this? And then when I started going through the steps, it was like admitting I had a problem and then coming to believe that I could be a better person, having faith that everything's going to be okay, writing down all of my resentments that I had with anyone and everyone, even myself, forgiving everyone and anyone and myself. And it was almost like I was just reborn. It's not like this corny sense of I'm reborn, but like imagine writing everything down on paper that has ever happened in your life, talking about it with another person, accepting the fact that it's happened and forgiving whoever has hurt you. If you need to seek outside help, you will. But being able to just do that as an adult, it gives you so much self-appraisal that in fact, whoa, maybe I am a good person because I'm looking in to the problem and trying to solve it, feeling the emotion and actually going through the pain. Because ultimately you become a stronger person.
Absolutely. And that's actually funny that you brought it up. I was going to get into this with you too, because I have recently gone sober.
Well done.
I was raised in mass addiction and alcohol abuse was rampant just in and around my life growing up. So I think alcohol became the easiest clutch for me to get through trauma and my everyday and to not have to take accountability for myself or my healing or how I was showing up. It was my scapegoat. Oh, I was drunk. Oh, I had a mental breakdown. I was drunk. Oh, I could use it for absolutely anything. Didn't show up to work for 4 days. I was drunk. Like it was something that became my, like a really disgusting part of my identity that was so toxic and I couldn't get out of it because it was just so, accepted in my life and in my family and people around. It was just drinking was always such a, everybody had an issue, to be honest with it, that it normalized it. And I think I got to a point where I realized that like I can not have alcohol in my life, and like success and alcohol cannot coexist in my life together. And I needed to make a decision. Do I want to live in this stuck version of Courtnei that I have been since I was a teenager? Or do I want to remove alcohol from my life and start going through a proper healing process, learn about myself, and try to be a better version than I've ever been of me? And cutting out alcohol has been extremely transformative for me. I don't think that you can go through proper healing and have alcohol in your life. And for anyone that's going through a hard time right now, I think like if you're struggling with anything in life, but especially your mental health, the first thing you should do is cut out alcohol.
Yeah.
I think it's just, if you're feeling mentally unhealthy and you're still drinking, there's a lot of work that you can do. But my biggest piece of advice would be to just stop drinking first. Because it's such an easy way
But
to
it's
get
almost
out of it.
like, for me, one question that my sponsor, because when you go to AA, you get given you ask someone to be your sponsor to kind of teach you how they got sober. So it's almost like a connected chain of people. I got
The sober guru.
I'm going to help someone else get sober. Yeah. So it's almost like you kind of like a family chain leading each other through the dark. Like, oh my gosh, I know where you're coming from. This is what I done. And then it's almost like a consistent chain of advice and stuff. So I remember saying to my sponsor, so how do you know that I've got a problem? And she said, for one, you wouldn't be questioning if you had a problem because normal people don't do that. And for two, when you start drinking, can you stop? And if you can stop, can you stay stopped? So for me, I would justify it and I would drink, go out, use whatever, and then come home and be sober for 2 weeks. And I'd be like, well, I haven't drunk in 2 weeks. I'm allowed a blowout. But then if you look at the consequences versus the advantages of me drinking and going out, I'm deluded because I'm justifying my behavior, justifying the consequences, and I'm continuing to drink.
Same.
Even though I'm sober for a couple of weeks, I could be sober for 6 weeks if I wanted to be, but I am still an alcoholic because I know once I put one in me, I can't tell you when I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
Or if I do stop, I don't know how long I'm going to stop for. I would have long periods of sobriety and go, I haven't got a problem, just to prove a point. Normal people don't do that. Normal people don't sit there and go, do you know what? I'm not going to drink for 6 weeks because I'm going to prove to everyone else that I am not an alcoholic. Why would I need to prove to other people that I'm not an alcoholic if I wasn't? It's like, it's bizarre when you read into it, it's like, wow, this, for me, when I tell people I'm sober, I'm now looked at in the UK as the weird one. They're like, why are you sober?
But you guys have bars everywhere. Quick side note, if you didn't know, when you're looking for a home, because we randomly started looking at houses in the UK when we were there is actually a search option that you can click to show you how many bars are close by the house you're close by the house you're looking at buying. That's one of it's like neighborhood, distance from this, schools, blah, blah, pubs is literally a tick to see how many pubs are close by.
In the UK, it's like our culture is drinking.
Yeah.
Germans, hot dogs, schnitzels.
I mean, Europe in general, you have a lot. I mean, Italy's kind of different. It's like a glass of wine here or there. UK and I would say Ireland are definitely like alcohol prominent places.
Yeah, definitely. My best friend is Irish and she loves to drink. And it's just the Irish culture. But I mean, she can pick up and put down. I was the complete opposite.
See, I think that was my other problem was I could handle alcohol so well. Like I could go onto like a bartending shift hammered and nobody would have any idea. I wouldn't even remember bartending that whole night. And it would just fly by and everyone would be like, oh, you did a great job tonight. Everyone loved you. You're so friendly. I'm like, cool. People like me when I'm drunk. This is a better version of me and I don't have to deal with my
Mhm.
trauma. And so
Yes.
it's just, yeah, it's hard though, but I understand because a ton of my friends still drink and they
Mhm.
don't have problems and they are allowed to go out and have great nights. But I was the same. My drunk alter ego name was Raquel, and everyone knows like Raquel just has no limit. She keeps going and going and going, and it's not positive. But it's I think everyone's journey with self-discovery is different and it happens at different times. I think mine just happened at a place where like I couldn't avoid it anymore, or my life would
Yeah.
just begin to get tumultuous. And I had to
Mhm.
make a decision, like my first decision for myself that was really impactful was to come out as trans and transition. And I think my second biggest one is probably giving up alcohol.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Congratulations to you.
That's amazing. Honestly, for you to have, because sometimes when you're sat with it and you don't say it out loud or you don't talk to other people about it, you just feel stupid. It's almost like when you actually do sit with someone and tell them or just say it out loud to yourself, it's almost like "Oh, that's a part of accepting it and then just, okay, this is who I am. And it's about embracing it. And you've done that. And I'm so proud of you.
Thanks. I did want to ask you just tiny bit about your coming out story as well, because mine obviously was like a massive decision for myself because I had to physically transition. But you came out as bisexual, and I don't know why it had such a big impact on me because I thought of all of these young women that are watching these reality shows, and there's such a lack of representation in a lot of reality TV, but you have this way of being so completely authentic in a society, but specifically an industry that is constantly forcing conformity, and you just emerge yourself and you do it so gracefully, I think. But I thought it
I
must
don't
be
know about
so
gracefully.
I love it. I think it's completely
Chaotic.
graceful, but there's beauty in chaos. Maybe I relate to it. But
Yeah.
I think it was really impactful and it was really brave for you to do that and to show all of these young queer individuals that it's okay to be themselves. It's okay
Mhm.
to take charge of their life. It's safe to come out even when you have a big following. And I'm curious to know what that feeling was for you. If it was something that was just like super exciting and felt really healthy and freeing, or if because of some of the hate and discrimination that we face as queer people, if it felt kind of heavy and weighted having to do it in such a public manner.
I think for me, it's kind of bittersweet because I've always been interested in women and men ever since I was in primary school. Like I was kissing girls in the toilet. Like I was just cheeky. I loved it, and I've always
Oh, I love
I've
you.
always loved both. I've always loved both, right? And you know when you get drunk and you kiss your girlfriends, and it's like oh, it was different. I was like, no, I love you. I think I'm in love with you. But I think it got to a point where because I'd only ever been with men, I questioned my sexuality and was like, well, I can't be gay because I've been with men, predominantly men. I've only ever been with one woman in a relationship, and that was around a year we were in a relationship together with no title. And during that year, I thought, I think it's just her. Like, it must just be just her. And then when we broke up, it was like, oh, maybe it's not just her. And then I explored a little bit more and I was like, okay, this is where we're getting. But I remember going on a TV show and it was a therapy show. So basically, you go on there, there's a bunch of celebrities that go on there and they detox from their lives, their eating habits, their spirituality, everything. And I remember having this deep exercise where we had to lay down and we done deep breathing for like 45 minutes. And my hands were cramped up, my face was cramped, and my body was shaking and I was sweating. And I remember looking at this woman and she just cradled me and she said, it's okay, like you're safe. And I just burst out crying and I thought, wow, this is what has been holding me back. It was so subconscious. Like I didn't even realize I wasn't aware of my sexuality because I was just so normal dating guys and secretly hooking up with women that I thought that's been one of the massive troubles of why I'm so emotional or why I feel like the way I feel. And then when I came out to the producer and I pulled him aside and I said, I'm bisexual. And he went, what? And I said, yeah. I said, that's what it is. That's what it is. It was almost like I just wanted to run around and tell everyone. I can't believe it. And then it was almost like the penny dropped. It was so clear, but I couldn't see it. It was so strange because it's almost like the conditioning of the world of being on so many heterosexual dating shows, men, women, seeing my mum and dad, seeing my nan and granddad, and kind of only really being around straight couples. It was just a realization of, wow, I know who I am. I'm not defined by liking men or women. It's almost like, okay, this is just me. And then I came out on TV. I didn't want to come out that way. It was almost like, oh, I can't believe this. It almost feels fake now. Like I don't want the first time people hearing me coming out on TV. And it took me 2 days to kind of get my head around the fact that, wow, this is the first time I'm going to be saying this and I'm now in the middle of a TV show. This come at the worst time. But then when I look back, I think I'm so grateful that happened, because if it didn't happen then, it probably never would have come out.
Right.
And I think when I posted that post on social media, a part of me was saying I shouldn't have to declare to the world that I like men and women. But then there was that voice in my head that was saying, but there will be other people that are sat there questioning whether to tell people. And if you show that you have the courage and the bravery to just kind of show yourself as being naked on the internet, like this is who I am, and show that vulnerability and bravery, then it might help other people. I don't know.
You are a very impactful person in the way that you show up, I think a lot more than you realize. And in the way that you allow others to feel valid in their weirdness and in their own inner little chaos. I don't think that there's very many people that are incredibly inspiring in reality television, because it's a hard industry to see really authentic people and to take inspiration away from a lot of the time. But there's something about you that just really, it just screams, it's okay to be you and to be beautiful and be valid and be heard. And coming out as bisexual, I think is just, it's such a, it was a moment for me where I was just like, fuck yes, Kay, she's on our team and she's just the coolest person to have inspiring others. And I was really grateful that you made the decision to do it publicly and the way that you did, because I think that impacted a lot of people. And it shows bravery. And it was similar for me when I transitioned and I came to terms with it. It was that same thing of like, oh my God, this is what's been holding me back my whole life. How did I not get here faster? How did I not? But it happens when it's meant to happen. And my life changed so drastically after I transitioned, because I wasn't battling myself anymore. I had nothing to hide. I didn't have any shame. I didn't have that secrecy that I was battling with myself. And I made sense to myself for the first time. My body, my mind, my spirit, my soul, it was all connected and communicating. And I felt like a whole being for the first time, being able to share and show up authentically. So I'm really glad that you are able to have that experience and are feeling that way as well.
And you, my lovely.
Do you have some cool things going on right now that I wanted to touch on? I know that you have a new subscription website. Can we get into that a little bit?
Of course we can. So I was contemplating for a long while, what should I do to create easier access to me? Because I struggle so much, with my ADHD, with my hyperfocus and my disassociativeness, in terms of looking at all of my Instagram DMs and people getting lost in my Instagram DMs. And I thought, what can I do? I can create a FanFix. And so many people have been saying to me, I love the fact that you've got FanFix, but please can you do OnlyFans? And I'm like, at the moment, I'm sticking with FanFix.
Yeah.
It's just building a community of people that just want to see Chloe for just being fun and unapologetic and sexy and free and bold and whatever you want to know me as. Because
Fuck yes.
I feel like on social media, I'm quite tame in terms of I need to restrict what I post because it's my job. However, on FanFix, it's like my private little Instagram and I absolutely love it. And I love talking to everyone on there. So yes.
FanFix. I love that. I love that for you. I think I struggled when I launched my first business and I was like, oh, I can't make sexy posts anymore. Like I'm an entrepreneur. I need to be respected. And then I had to redefine what everything meant for me. I was like, why am I starting my own business to like be able to do what I want to do and make all these changes? Like with my neck tattoo, the reason I got this was because I'd always wanted one. And I had told myself, I can't have one. It's not feminine and it's not professional. And that was my narrative to myself. And when I finally started breaking those chains and I was like, why am I starting a fucking business if I'm not going to live by what I'm preaching, you know? And so this is like my daily reminder. I wake up and I see this and I'm like, yes, get out, kick ass, be yourself, change the narrative, do things for you. And I think that's what FanFix is for you. And I fucking love it.
Love it. Show that bod off.
Do you have anything else that's coming up? Any future things that you can drop hints about?
Oh gosh, I mean, I don't want to get the contracts terminated by saying exactly what it is. But I've got a good few things in the pipeline. I have another show coming out in the next month. That is almost like top secret and that hasn't been said anywhere else. But yeah, I've been working on something that's massive also in the pipeline in the background with a major network. And I've literally been waiting 5 years for this moment and it's finally come true. And it's almost like, wow, in the next however many months, or it might even take a year, just be patient. I've kind of had to set myself aside from just trying to look successful on social media and really take a step back and just think, you know what, instead of trying to look successful, I need to try and be successful. So it's almost like I've gone off the radar for months because I've been working on so much and I just needed a bit of me time, you know. But yeah, a lot is happening. 2024 is my year. I can feel it.
Yes, I can feel it. 2024 is your year. I'm so grateful. What advice do you have for any young queer person that is struggling right now, either with their mental health or just in feeling defeated with the narrative that's around queer people right now in the world?
I think from experience, one thing that really helped me was being around people that really liberated me, that inspired me, that helped me see Chloe for Chloe and to not have any of those blurred lines and to just fuck society, be you, and just when it happens is when it happens, whether you talk about it, whether you tell other people, whether you keep it inside for a little longer. Don't feel any guilt and shame about it. Just when it happens, it will happen and it will happen naturally. And I think sometimes it's okay to have down days and stay in bed for a week and eat chocolate and ice cream and watch shit on Netflix. Sometimes that's what I do. And then I come out the other end and I look back and think, I'm so glad I've done that because now I'm ready to face the world. So do not put a label on anything and just definitely don't put a label on yourself. Just be you.
Oh, that's just the most beautiful way to end this. Chloe, thank you so much. You are
Thank you.
An absolute queen. Well, friends, that puts a wrap on season 1 of the Braveyard podcast. I am so completely in awe of all of the guests that I've had on, and this experience has honestly been one of the most rewarding of my life. A huge thank you to Chloe for taking the time to sit down and have that chat with me today. This whole experience has been such a blessing in my life, and I couldn't be more excited for what the future holds. I hope this season has left you feeling inspired and motivated to accomplish any of your own dreams. And any queer listeners out there, don't let anyone else dictate your existence. We may be up against a lot right now, and I know social media can feel so defeating, but we have community, we have love, and you belong just the way you are. Never let anyone dim your light. I hope that this season has showed you that there are many people out there fighting the good fight, showing up just as they are, and finding success in life. A huge thank you again to Gamertech for sponsoring today's episode. Don't forget to check out their socials for your own chance to win a custom PC at Gamertech Toronto. And we may have one special bonus episode coming out soon with the newest winner of Netflix The Circle, Brandon Baker. But until next time, I'm Courtnei Lee, and this is the Braveyard.